Hey everybody, I'm Father Brice, and I am so excited that as we come out slowly out of quarantine with COVID-19, I'm so excited that I got to see a bunch of people for Mass this week. I'm so excited that we got to have Mass like back in church. But you know, as we've been processing Mass back in church and as we've been like figuring out what Catholic life looks like in the midst of this slow, staged, very wise and prudent like reopening, I've also received some questions. People have asked things like, well, what if it's hard for me to go to Mass? So what should I do? Am I still dispensed from going to Mass? If I don't go to Mass and I don't watch the live stream, is that a sin? Is it bad to not watch a live stream? So I've received all kinds of questions and honestly, like all kinds of feelings about what am I supposed to do now? What's best for me? What's best for my family? And so today, we're doing something that we've never done together before, but I'm here with my friends Mark and Abby, and we just want to talk about those questions and talk about those feelings. So welcome, y'all. And what have y'all been thinking? Like, how have y'all been feeling in these weeks as we slowly reopen?
Yeah. Thank you. And I think thanks just for being willing to talk to us and answer questions that I know we have, and I think that other people have as well. I think that, if I'm being honest, it's been kind of difficult to kind of navigate through the waters of we didn't go to Mass. We didn't even have Mass. We had live stream Mass. Now we can go to Mass because we have Mass in church, but we also have live stream Mass. Is one better than the other? Should I be going to Mass and not watching live stream? I think it's been kind of confusing as to kind of what we can do right now or what we should be doing. I don't know if you have anything.
Yeah, I think sometimes it can get overwhelming because this is just one decision on top of a lot of other decisions that we're having to make of what's safe for our family and what's not safe with having young kids. So I definitely think that it's struck a lot of different emotions, and we've had to have a lot of conversations about whether we're going to go or we're not going to go, or what we're doing is enough to be keeping the Sabbath holy and whatnot. So I definitely think it's been a struggle having to navigate. We've never done this before, we've never lived through a pandemic before. So thank you for just being here to help answer some of our questions that we've been talking about and now we have the opportunity to ask you. So
yeah, well, thanks for the vulnerability and for being here with us or with me to where we could have this conversation right at your kitchen table or anywhere else, but that we can have this conversation in a way that please God, like, will benefit a bunch of other people. Thank y'all for being willing to share. I think that probably the first thing is, what do I do? Well, the answer is always I pray. Now we're going to talk about all kinds of specifics in that and what does it look like, how we do it, but it doesn't so much matter whether we're praying the rosary or we're watching on live stream or whether we're reading the scriptures for the Sunday or what we're doing. The thing is that we pray. The thing is that we encounter Jesus, and live in that intimacy of relationship. And I think that today, he's really inviting us, as he always is, but in particular in this time during and please Jesus coming out soon of the pandemic, I think it's a really great opportunity to trust. Well, that's enough for me to say right now. So tell me, we talked about some questions and things, but what are those questions?
Yeah, I think one question that we have, Abby said that we have young kids. We have two boys. Fulton is a little over 2, and we have John Paul, who's 6.5 months right now. And I think one of the questions is okay, so we can go to Mass right now. Mm-hmm. Should we be going to Mass right now? So if we bring our boys to Mass, the reality is our boys are not going to wear masks. There's no shot, And so should we be going to Mass as a family? And I guess it's like 8 questions. So should we be going to Mass as a family? And like, is it okay for Abby and I just to go to Mass by ourselves without bringing our kids? Or does that make sense?
Yes.
Let's start with that.
Those are good questions. So since there's a couple of them, try to go. So the first most basic thing I think is, should we be going to Mass, right? Whether you bring your kids with you or not, should we be going to? Well, the answer to that is, it depends. It depends on your situation. It depends on where you are with your family, like with your health, with what you need. In a normal time, right, not in a time of pandemic, we would have a different answer. Right? It would be, of course you should go to Mass, because like that's part of a commandment and it's a precept of the church. And by the way, it's actually really good for you. That's a real important thing. But right now, right, Bishop Fobb has dispensed all the faithful, everybody in the Diocese of Houma-Thibodaux from going to Mass on Sunday. So that means that you don't have to. So if you don't have to, then should you becomes a question like for your own personal discernment. Or your own, or maybe it's not personal discernment, right? It's interpersonal discernment together, like in the family. So, what should you do on Sunday? Well, you should pray on Sunday. You should do what best helps you to pray. Every once in a while, when things are normal, I try to remember to do this, I don't know, with some frequency at Mass. It's at the end of Mass just to thank the parents who bring their small kids to Mass. Because you're bringing them to Mass, they're participating in some way as they're able, like in the sacrifice of Christ. They're learning about the faith. They're being part of the community, and that's awesome. So in a normal circumstance, I would say, well, yeah, like of course, like bring your boys to Mass, and sometimes they might go to the babysitting, or sometimes when they get a little older, they might go to children's liturgy and things like that help you. But normally I'd say absolutely, you got to bring them to Mass, but. Well, what if they're like more prone to being sick? Well, then maybe you shouldn't bring them to Mass. So in that case, if you're a parent, you are a parent, right? You are parents with small kids. That means taking care of your kids is a really good reason not to go to Mass on a Sunday right now when we're dispensed. But also, I think it's possible that for some families, like some families will decide, all right, Mom and Dad, like we're going to take turns. And so you're going to go to Mass one weekend or at one time, and then you're going to go to Mass the next weekend or the other time, and y'all are going to switch. Again, in normal some families have to do that in normal circumstances. In normal circumstances, I would say like try really, really hard not to do that, right? Because you want to go as a family if possible. If you can't go as a whole family, you want to go as a couple if possible. But we're in a pandemic, and so things are different. So I'm going to summarize that, and you can tell me if I answered all your questions, all of those questions. Number one, you don't have to go to Mass right now because there's a dispensation. Therefore, should I go to Mass really depends on your situation and your discernment. Number two, yes, it's okay to go to Mass like without your kids because of those reasons that we just talked about. And number three, it's even okay if you choose to, like to take turns. But you don't have to do either of those things. I think I want to make that really clear. Like you don't have to switch off going to Mass. You can stay home. All you have to do is you have to pray and keep the Sabbath by honoring the Lord and entering into communion with Him.